All right, we're back. We're back from all of the behind the scenes conversations that happen. And depending on when you watch this, you are probably here to watch it live or you're watching it in a recording. So this week we're in Jeremiah chapter 11. After I made this little graphic thing here, and we all know that AI is becoming a part of the things that I do, I've actually moved over into using AI in other parts of life. So I think it's something that's here to stay, if I could say so myself. The reason why, when I was originally putting together the lesson, the message, the sharing, the facilitation of information for today, the thing that was like seared in my brain, I've listened to Jeremiah 11 in the last couple of weeks, nothing short of probably 20 times, probably more. And I kept trying to find what was going to grab me from the text. I'm like, what is it? What is it? And I would read through it, and I kept going back to the same place. And one of the things, and I've shared this with you all in private spaces, I don't know if I've shared it in a public space, but I will. The process of putting together information to share with other people is a completely different process from putting together information that speaks to your personal experience. And a lot of times people blur those lines. And so they tend to speak a lot from personal, and it is not so much applicable to other people, and it has a lot of feelings, emotions, and depth that the person who's doing it feels, but sometimes it falls just, kind of dull on everyone else. It kind of falls on dull ears, not because they don't hear what's being said, but because the information was maybe an internal experience. And so when I share, I like to first go through my internal experience where the word hits me, and then deal with that, and then begin to share from the healing that's happening as I internalize the word. Because you hear a lot of people who sometimes share messages or share teachings or even share biblical concepts and principles, or even psychological concepts and principles. And when they're shared from an unhealed space, it always, often, I'm painting with a wide brush, but most of the time it falls into a place of like, it just doesn't hit right. Like it kind of like, it leaves you with, it's funny, it's a discord. So in when you play piano, there's certain chords that leave you with much more to be desired about the actual text. And you probably get a lot of what's to be desired about the person, but a lot much more to be desired on how you can actually put that in practice for yourself. And so with Jeremiah chapter 11, after coming out of several, let's talk about 10 weeks of very, very intense and intentional, topical, thematic teachings, we get to Jeremiah 11, and I'm not saying everything in Jeremiah 11 is rainbows and sunshine, but what I am saying about Jeremiah 11 is that we get the reminder of the covenant. So this particular image is an image that fits where my mind was as I was developing, but really today we're going to revisit what the covenant is. And I think it's interesting because every time I revisit a word or a concept that I think I have a really good grasp on, there's always something more there for me. And that's nobody but yeah. Our minds and our capacity to understand things continue to grow as we read, study, learn, as we sit at the feet of the Father, as we gather in groups of individuals who are growing and seeking out the word, and so forth, as we have more lived experiences. And so we'll see that today. One of the things I wrote out like a little note to myself when I first, because we all know I longhand a lot of things. So one of the sisters in here asked me for notes, and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to go look through one of these longhand notes. I hope you can read some of it when I get it to you. Because I do, my brain and my pen flow seamlessly. My brain and my typing don't. So sometimes it comes out like this. And then the other part is the notes are not very impressive because I believe the Ruach fills in the rest of the space. But this morning when I sat down, the thing that shaped my mind, and I'm sharing that because not everybody in here is, I don't think anybody who's listening is in here just to hear, but you're also here to hear and do. And sometimes hearing and doing requires the process or the framing of how we even got here. And as you guys all know, before I teach, I'm going to teach. Before I share, I'm going to teach the process, because I believe it is our inheritance to not only know what Yah says to a person, but also how they got there. Because if I got here by sitting here and twiddling my thumbs and lining up crystals around the room and burning candles and having a seance, you'd have a whole problem. And so when I share, it's not me sharing how smart I am. It's me making myself accountable to you for how I'm acquiring the information and where my mind is. You need to know where the mind of the people who are teaching you, like where they are, where their minds are, where that person's mind is. And so when I started off today, and I'm just going to kind of read through it, the Bible exists in terms and context that we both understand and experience as humans. It's a type of knowing knowledge. It's not lofty. It's not for smart people, but in the knowledge but it's written in the knowledge and the language of the everyday person. These experiences are supposed to literally hit you right where you are. Yah was not lying when he said, hey, it's not far off. It's not something that's so lofty. We make it that because we want the biblical experience of the individuals to be elevated so that we can finasticize our own experiences instead of really being in them and experiencing them for exactly what they are. The big emotions, the big wins, the hills, the valleys, the enemies. This is supposed to speak to us and our human experience. It's not for the person who is a priest or a pastor or a preacher alone, but it's for the person literally walking outside, hearing the birds chirp, seeing the sunrise, the person who lives in a home, who loves, who mourns, who cries, who lives and dies. The Bible is for you, and it becomes sacred when you experience Yah in the everyday moments, not just when we're seeking to be holy, but in the correction and the judgment as well. So part of that came from, and I'm going to the second part, is we're going to see Yah literally feel. And I really am struggling, like it's breaking my heart, because I have been on a journey to feel for a while, and it doesn't feel good to feel all the time. All the feelings don't feel good. We like the good ones, we don't like the bad ones, but a particular demographic, or a particular group in our community is really struggling with that. And I believe it. I mean, I don't think I would have any dissenting voices. It's men. And a lot of the process of relationship, and that's why we're talking about covenant, a lot of the process of relationship, a lot of the process of covenant, a lot of the process of leadership has to do with feeling. Now, your feelings don't necessarily always change what the outcome is, but your feelings help you process through what is happening and even unfavorable outcomes. If you do not feel through it, you will not heal. It's just that way. It's literally just biological. It's not against anybody. If you don't feel through it, you will not heal. And sometimes the feelings are delayed because the wound is so great, but when the feelings begin to come, we have to heal. Imagine burning yourself. When we burn ourselves, we don't know exactly at the moment we're burned that we're burnt, right? I hate getting burned. Not that anybody likes being burned, but it is, of all of the wounds I feel like I've had in my life, burnt is like the worst one. So that's why I'm using that as an example. I don't like being burnt. So when you're burnt, right, you don't feel it right away. So that means that it can actually prolong. And then for a while, you feel nothing. It's just like nothing. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're being burned in the burn and feeling it. And really, there's really nothing you can do about it until your body sends blood and, white blood cells and all the other stuff there to begin to tell it to stop. You can run your hand underwater. You can put ice on it. You can try to numb it. They just tell you, like, it's just, you're going to be burnt. It's just what it is. But if you don't feel something eventually, guess what? You will then destroy whatever is being burnt. And if you don't feel the burning sensation happening, you know that the burn is not healing. Like, so we feel through it so that it can heal. Example. So when we're in the text, and we're going to see this a lot, Yah gets to a point after 10 chapters, and he's going to talk about, and I'm going to interject the feeling into it, because that's the beauty of being a woman and being able to teach. People say, oh, women shouldn't teach. My goodness, if we didn't, then there would be a lot left to be desired about who Yah is and what he thinks and he feels for us, because in today's day, it's lacking. So it's there. And as I was reading, I realized that Yah begins to feel something about the lack of response from the one he's in covenant with, from his bride, from the nation. There's a like, you know what moment. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to rest in this you know what moment, but I'm not going to allow, because the same type of toxic lack of feeling that negates or suppresses the emotions in people who try to feel are the same types that are present when people read through the text and gloss over this you know what moment, or they take it as this God who is angry and who is vengeful and who has, and it's like, but if we don't deal what the God of the Bible is feeling for his people, then when he reacts, he just looks like he's reacting to nothing. And I realized that our toxic inability to feel has gaslit the God of the Bible, so that when the God of the Bible reacts to what we're doing, we go, oh, how can God be that angry? How can, oh my gosh, just going pop off and kill people? It's like, but we didn't look at what led to that. And in seeing Yah's process and Yah's plea, and then what his resolve is, you can see how our natural human emotions in covenant, in friendship, and community also arrive to that same end because of a process. Watching Yah and watching what Yah does, and of course, watching Hamashiach and what he does, allows us to feel a little uncrazy for just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So when Yah expresses disappointment, which we're going to see, and judges, it's not because he is flexing. He is showing that the product of mistreatment, abuse, and negligible or negligent relationship patterns come with extreme disappointment, and they have outcomes and consequences. He is showing us, but in perfection. And in our perfecting process, we're supposed to become more like him, understanding why we think away, why we come to certain ends, where the Torah is in it all. The complete spectrum of emotions, yes, emotions, and expectation that Yah has, we, being made in his likeness and image, also have. The difference is we have an unholy duality, which is sin that causes us to feel the emotions and behave in ways that are far from, very far from, Yah. But Yah shows us in his interactions how to feel big and then wait on him. In Jeremiah, we reach the end of a sort of a time period, chapter 10. For 10 chapters, we get literally a plea from Yah. And we get this understanding that Yah is married to us and is in covenant. And he gives these really practical, lived, everyday examples, hence my introduction part, that are like, hey, remember when we were in love? Hey, remember this? Hey, look at this. See these things that are in this natural world that you experience because I'm Yah. And you see, my experience is not your experience. My ways are not your ways, but in order for me to love and communicate with you, I'm going to bring it to you in a way that you understand. And literally, Yah is like, look, this is going to happen. Plead with them, tell them, tear down, build up. But 10 chapters, points out, I see your gods. I see what you're doing. I see you killing your kids. I want you to repent. I want you to repent. I want you to repent. I still love you. I still love you. I still love you. This is what I said. This is what I promised. I mean, it goes on for 10 long chapters. I mean, they were long and grueling. And then Yah continues, and he's like, okay, I told you I realized your trauma. I literally told you, like, you're acting like your forefathers. You got some epigenetic things happening. I got it. I see it. I still want you. I still want you to repent. And then he goes on and he says, but you keep choosing against me. So imagine the heartbreak, framing what we're going to be looking at, of watching someone you love choose to remain stuck. It's literally heartbreaking. In his plea, Yah calls for a look at his covenant. He's like, okay, you are so far gone. You can't see me. You are so caught up with everything else. So can we just look at the covenant again? He says, let's just revisit what we said we were going to do. Let's look at what I said, and let's look at the problem, and then let's try from there. So that's Jeremiah's whole message. That's it. Jeremiah's like, that's it. That's what he's called to do. We're going to see the response to that, and then the end result when there's a covenant between two people, but there's no response from the other party in the covenant. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is, I like a good word study. We're going to look at the word covenant. Of course, that's going to pretty much eat up the bulk of everything. Once we do that, it's just kind of a done deal. Let's see if the whiteboard comes up. Can you guys see the whiteboard? Yeah, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to try to write with my hand and see what happens from there. Okay, so the Hebrew word for covenant, we're going to start right there, is the word berit in the text. And it's spelled like this. Bait, bet, resh, yod, tav. Like that. Comes from the root word bara, bet, resh, hey. All right. So the bet in the pictograph, I'm not going to draw because my drawing is not going to come out good trying to write like that. But bet represents house, tent, inn, womb, right? To go in. Resh, head, person, first. Oh, let me see. It says you guys can't see. Some people say they can't see. Let me see if I can share. No. Okay, I'm gonna leave it up. Okay. So bet represents inn, house, womb, tent, like a nomadic tent floor plan. Resh, head, person, first, the top of something, the beginning of something. Hey, lo, behold, the, or to look up for direction. Another word in here is the idea of that which is chosen or choice, like the heads of something. So bar is like the top part of the grain, the edible part to be consumed. So the word covenant, berit, is initiated, literally how a covenant takes place. It's initiated through a sacrifice between households, right? Pretty cool. Or between individuals who represent households or individuals who represent themselves. And what you did in that time, and it's still actually a thing today when we sit down with meals with people to discuss things, we still do it, is they would take a fatted calf or fatted animal. Root word for that is bara, to fatten. When that thing is fattened, then the parties of the covenant would then kill the animal, separate it, eat, and that would be the covenant. But before they did that, they would pass through the two separated pieces. And the representation of that, which was, we're walking through this split parted carcass of the animal, literally as a representation of what happens to the parties who break the covenant. It's pretty much like pretty straightforward. The covenant itself could have whatever the agreement was to be agreed upon. So if it was a marriage covenant where we're saying our families, I'm going to give you my son, you're going to give me this money, you're going to marry, whatever that was, it represented that. Now, of course, we know that every covenant didn't end in death, but a breaking of a covenant often meant a breaking of a relationship, which is a type of death, death. So when you agree to something, word is bond. You say you're going to do something, you do it, but you also have a ritual representation of a practical representation of what that looks like. So because the mind is really interesting. If a person told you, say you bought a house and they said, no need for paperwork, no need for nothing, just give me your money and the house is yours. You wouldn't feel too good about that. You're like, I need, and I'm using this word again, I need the ritual. I need you to pull up this paper. I need to sign it. I need to go through these formalities. I need escrow, because this literal process of ownership is what gives me the comfort that I own it. Right? Now, it could be fraudulent through the whole actual process, but that's not my point. We're saying the actual process gives you the feeling that when you go in that house every day, you're like, this is my house. But if you just handed your money over and then just got some keys, in the back of your head every day, you'd be like, when they gonna come and they just took my money and they gave me these? It does it. So Yah knows that about the human mind. So when he does things and when he covenants, he also does this process. Yah is the originator of covenant. So every covenant on planet Earth that is in existence, that follows this pattern of I do something, you do something, we agree on it, we have a physical representation of this covenant, literally stems from this biblical principle and biblical idea. I'm going to finish giving you the definition. I'm going to give you stories because this is really important to the rest of what we're going to talk about. The idea of covenant, the definition of it, bara as the root, bet resh he, means to restore, and that means to restore physical health and to rejuvenate. Most people don't think about covenant as something that does something positive, but if we just start thinking about the covenants that we enter into, it is our expectation that those covenants are going to produce something positive for us. Right? Even people who enter into bad covenants, I'm going to use negative first, like celebrities who enter into covenant with these record labels and so forth. They're expecting to be covered. They're expected to be protected. They're expected to be paid. They're expected to increase. But of course, the covenants are faulty. So a lot of times they don't have that within them. Take a positive. When you get married, do you expect to be abused? Do you expect to be left outside? Do you expect to be uncovered? No, when you think about a covenant, even if those are things that can happen in a relationship, your expectation is that when you agree to something and you go into covenant over something, that the outcome is going to be positive. It's going to restore you. You're going to recover. If you grew up rough and you didn't have a two-parent home, you're like, this is going to be the restoration or the recovery of what was lost for me, and I'm going to provide it for somebody else. The point of covenant is to literally move you forward and increase you in a way that you probably never saw possible as a single entity. I can't necessarily do this by myself, so I'm going to join with somebody else, and we're going to work together to produce this particular thing. The Hebrew understanding, our ancestors understood to be in covenant, because covenant also has with it to be fed. It meant that you were going to be healthy and free from disease. That if a person if you sat down at a covenant meal, they weren't going to poison you. It was the understanding that we both know what goes into this and we're going to be well at the end of it. So, it also, though, the word bara means to be fattened for the slaughter. Why? Well, we know that when you were preparing for covenant, you had to prepare an animal for that covenant. You didn't want to bring a weak, sick animal because it'd be a representation of the kind of person you were coming to this covenant. So you would bring your best to the covenant table for sacrifice, because it was showing that I'm putting something on the line here. I don't know if you guys know this, but if, let's say it was a cow and it was a covenant between two families, right? Then if I came and I said, oh, I want my son to marry your daughter, and I bought a sick cow, would you want my son to be with your daughter? You'd be like, the type of family you are? Heck no. So you would put your best foot forward in covenant. So you would bring a big fatted calf. And if you've ever been to auction, or if you've ever bought livestock, the bigger and healthier something looks, the more expensive it is, which means the more it costs the family who took care of it. It shows care and concern when you have a healthy animal. When your animals are healthy, it means that you fed them, which means that costs money. If you were a herdsman, that means you were out finding green pastures all the time. It takes a lot for a cow to get big. So you see the mind frame. I just want you to really understand that, because when we shift, like we are getting to right now, when we shift our mind to look at the covenant from the perspective of Yah, he didn't bring Israel something sick, weak, and beggarly, like people like to draw to the New Testament. He didn't bring them something that they were to be ashamed of. He didn't go in covenant with them over words that were going to fall to nothing. He literally, when Yah brought Israel the covenant, he brought them the best he had. Torah is literally the best Yah has. Literally, that covenant is the best. And his mind, putting ourselves in Yah's mind, his mind was that it was going to restore you. It was going to recover for you anything that was lost. It was going to keep you free from disease. If Deuteronomy 28 ain't going through your mind, then you didn't sat way too long on that little identity piece and you didn't get the blessing part of it. He was going to restore minds. He was going to restore physical health. He was going to rejuvenate the nation. Literally, that was the understanding. And if you think I'm making it up, because you know what, who believes Huldah anyways? Let's just look at some places in the text. I'm going to take you first to Psalm 69 and 22. Start there and see what our ancestors thought about covenant and this root word. Let's see. Trying to make my screen so I can see it. Psalm 69, 22. All right. So let's go right here. The word pit stood out to me, so we were talking about Joseph in the pit before this. Verse 14, deliver me out of the mire and let me not sink. Let me be delivered from them that hate me and out of the depths of waters. Let not the water flood overflow me, neither let the deep swallow me up, and let not the pit shut her mouth upon me. Hear me, O Yah, for your loving kindness is good. Turn unto me according to the multitude of your tender mercies, and hide not your face from your servant. For I am in trouble. Hear me speedily. Draw nigh unto my soul and redeem it. Deliver me because of mine enemies. Thou hast known my reproach and my shame and my dishonor. My adversaries are all before thee. Reproach hath broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. And I looked for some to take pity, but there was none, and for comforts, but I found none. Says they gave me also gall for meat, right? So talk about bad covenant. Supposed to be, they gave me gall for meat, and in my thirst they gave me vinegar for drink. Let their table be a snare for them. That which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. So in the picture of covenant, right? He was like, these people said they were for me, but when it came down to the covenant, they gave me poison to eat. They didn't, so he says, now let their table be a snare for them. But under all of this is he's in covenant with Yah, calling Yah to show up in his covenant for him based upon a broken covenant between him and these people that have now become his enemies. So that understanding of, okay, there's a meal. It's supposed to happen a certain way. You're not supposed to treat a person a certain way, but also being in relationship with Yah gives that person the opportunity to then call on Yah. All right, let's look at the very first actual picture of this covenant that, of course, I'm probably made up off the top of my head, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 15. After chapter 15, Genesis. After these things, which means that there's some things that happened before this, so you need to go back and read them if you don't know. Yah came unto Abram, so this is before Abram was Abraham, in a vision saying, fear not, Abram, I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. I'm going to stop here just for a second. And we might have a part two, because I'm like, there's so many things here. If we don't feel and we don't heal, you'll never hear Yah talk like this to you. And when you hear talk like this come to you in your head, you won't even believe it's Yah. Yah comes to Abram and says, fear not, Abram, I am your shield and your exceeding great reward. He can go, oh, do you know how bad I am? Oh, he just, that's what Yah said. And Abram said, he knew it. He was, Yah, what will you give me, seeing I go childless and the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? And Abram said, behold, to me, thou hast no seed, and lo, Abram said, behold, to me, thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of Yah came unto him. So he's literally having a back and forth with Yah, prayer, conversation. Literally, Yah has spoken, and he's like, okay. Look at his response, though. Yah says, I am your exceeding great reward. He didn't go like we do. Oh, thank you, bless. Yah spoke it to me. Abraham had a little bit of complaint back when Yah said, I'm your exceeding great reward. He said, well, if you are, which I'm like, he's like, okay, what do you have for me when you haven't given me a child? He said, the person in my house is a servant born in my house. He said, you've given me no seed, and the heir is getting ready to get everything. So, okay. And so Yah came to him, and Yah said back, he was honest. Yah said back, that's not going to be your heir, but he that will come forth from your own bowels shall be your heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, now listen to this. Yah literally is like, now go out and look. And he said, now look toward heaven. Now this is Abram. I want to point out, this is the Abram that pimped his wife a couple of times. So he had some smut on his record. Okay. So this whole idea that, oh, Yah's not talking to me because I'm not perfect. No, Yah is literally like, let me show you some things. I get it. You're walking through, you're learning this life. He says, look toward heaven. See all those stars up here? So this is Abram. He's probably out walking, looking at the sky. He said, you see all those stars out there? Can you count them? He says, then, of course, it's rhetorical, then this is what your seed is going to be. And he said unto him, I am Yah. He reminds him that he's been for him before he knew he was for him. He says, I am Yah that brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees. Remember home? Remember when I said Lech Lecha? To give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Yah, how am I going to know that I shall inherit it? He didn't say, okay, great. Hallelujah. He said, how am I going to know? There's a dialogue and a relationship here. And part of the beauty of relationship with Yah is so similar to how it is between us and children. Children don't just believe us. And I really wish my kids would just believe me because I'm their mom, but they want evidence. They're like, okay, what time you cooking then? I'm hungry. When you gonna do it? 10 minutes. Can I set a timer for 10 minutes? Sure. This is the innocence of the relationship. He's not coming for Yah. He's like, I want to know how I'm gonna know. So he goes, Yah, how shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, you know what? Try. I got something for you. Take me a heifer. He's going to give instruction. 3 years old. That's going to take some knowing. He has to know how old. He's like, take me a heifer, 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove of 3 years old. It's Abraham. And a pigeon. And he took unto him all these. So guess what he did? He did it. He went and found a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old goat, and a ram of 3 years, a turtle dove, and a pigeon. Now I'm gonna interject. I don't know if he had to go around and be like, hey, how old is this one right here? When was it born? And how old is this one? So it tells you that he didn't just get what he got if he didn't have it on him from anywhere. You had to go to somebody that was knowledgeable, who keeps a record of when they birth their animals and has them on a cycle. You didn't just go to, he did his due diligence to be obedient to what I said. He found all of them. And when he had them all gathered, he says he took all these and then he divided them in half. You guys have heard this story. He divided them in half and he laid each piece one against another. But the birds he divided not. Birds. And when the fowls came down on the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. So he did it. And then Yah didn't just magically showed up when Abraham was obedient. He had to sit there and the buzzard started coming. So he's like, I'm waiting on something. And he's fanning away the devourers that are coming to take something away from this covenant he's getting ready to go in. He needs it to be as it was supposed to be when Yah shows up. And when the sun was going down, so guess what? He had to wait. If he did this in the beginning of the day, he waited all day long. Imagine Yah sitting and watching Abraham, just seeing like, is he going to just give up? Be like, you know what? I did what you said to do. You didn't show up. I'm out. That's our attitude. At least that's mine, if I can be honest. I'm like, I did what you said. I'm here. And I might even wait till about 4 o'clock and then get tired. He's like, he waited till the sun went down. And a deep sleep fell upon Abram. He waited so long that he got tired. And lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. So now it's like, oh, it didn't went bad. Like I thought this was supposed to be good. It was literally, he was in a sedated state. And so, you go so to sleep that you don't even know where you are. That's how it was. And he said unto Abram, spoke to him in this state, know of a surety, because what did he say? How am I going to know? You know now. Now you know, you're feeling this, right? Know of a surety that your seed will be a stranger in a strange land that is not theirs. And they're going to actually have to serve them. That's how you're going to know that your seed is bigger than, oh, wow. And we probably won't stop here. That's how you know when you're going to know that it's your seed. He says, literally, they're going to be a stranger in a strange land. This is the checkpoint. And they shall afflict them for 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. How am I going to know I'm a great nation? How? Going back to our pre-recording conversation, because Joseph ended up in a pit and went down to Egypt. And a great famine came upon Egypt. And then 70 souls from the loins of Abraham went into Egypt. And when those 70 souls went into Egypt, when they came out by Yah's mighty hand, because they were afflicted, they came out a great and mighty nation. And it's a repetitive process because then it happens again. The children of Israel end up in the house of bondage, spread to the 4 corners of the world. And when Yah goes to draw them, the text says that people will no longer ask about that time when he brought people out of Egypt, because the multitude from Abraham's obedience and the affliction of the children of Israel spread to the 4 corners of the earth will be so great that you won't be able to know anything but that it was the fulfillment of this promise. He was like, I'll show you. So he tells him, he said, hey, but wait, don't trip. I'm not talking about right now. I'm not talking about today. This is not happened to you today. He said, so you're going to go to your fathers in peace and you'll be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation, they shall come here, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. The people in the land that he looked at, that he said was his, he was like, I'm going to tell you, they're going to come all the way back around 4 generations. If you know how to count your lineage, then you know how to get there, right? 4 generations are going to come back around and inherit this promised land. And it will come to pass that when the sun, and it came to pass, when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between those pieces. In the same day, Yah made a covenant with Abraham, saying, so he showed him and then he spoke to it, unto your seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river Euphrates. That's not just that little coastal part that's called Israel today. From the river of Egypt, the Nile, to the Euphrates. That's how big the promised land is. He's like, you ain't even seen everything that I just gave you. And he goes on, he says, and the Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Kadmonites and the Hittites, you're going to hear all these names as you read, of course, through Torah, the Perizzites, the Rephaims, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites, all those people and all those lands. He says, that's the part of the covenant. That's the first time, because guess what? We don't always, covenants they develop. Abraham had to be reminded of this covenant. So let's go ahead and go to chapter 17. A covenant relationship has within it a development. It grows over time. So look here at Genesis chapter 17. So that was 15. Let's go to 17. So now we have Abram, and he's 90 and 9 years old. He's 99. And Yah appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am Yah Almighty, walk before me and be perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and I will multiply thee exceedingly. You would think after that one experience, Abraham wouldn't have to be reminded when Yah shows up, right? I mean, in my mind. And verse 3, and Abram fell on his face, and Yah talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father to many nations. He comes to him speaking about what he already spoke to him about. I've said this when I went through the 1st and 2nd Samuel series. I've said it plenty of times before, and it's a reminder to myself and all of us. We have to remember what Yah spoke to us. He doesn't speak things and abandon them, but we hear them and then we abandon them when we are not in the state of perfection that we think we should be in. And so we act like what he spoke before is now null and void because somehow we didn't do what we were supposed to do perfect. Each of us has something that Yah has spoken to us, and you know what it is. And if he hasn't, he will, as you continue to pursue him. But it's too big sometimes for us to even understand how it's going to happen. But see, unlike us, we took it and we're like, oh, Yah spoke to me, thank you. And we walked away and we didn't go, but wait, how am I going to know you did it? How am I going to know when it happens? How am I going to know to look for it? So he comes back to Abraham speaking in covenant. He's not speaking outside of the covenant. Anytime you hear something outside of Yah's covenant in your ear and in your heart, it's not from Yah. He's going to speak according to his covenant, which is his word, and what he's spoken to you. We have to be careful that when other people come around speaking outside of Yah's covenant, or speaking their covenant that they want with you, instead of what Yah has told you, that we utterly reject it. And that goes for you singles. That goes for you people who are pursuing relationship. If Yah has told you something and a person comes giving you anything but what Yah promised you, if they're not on board with that, it's a no for you, because all it is a distraction. And you're going to still have to carry out the covenant, but now you're distracted. Ask Abraham about Ishmael. Comes with heartbreak. So he comes to him and he says, behold, my covenant is with you. Let me remind you, just in case you forgot. And you shall be a father of many nations, and neither shall your name be anymore be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you, and I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant. to be an Elohim unto you and to the seed after you. That's very, very powerful. We'll get to that. And I will give unto you and to the seed after you the land wherein you are right now, you're a stranger. All the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be your Elohim. Peep this, you don't get the covenant without me. I'm a part of it. I'm in it. You can't have the covenant without me. And Elohim said unto Abram, you shall keep my covenant, therefore. Because of this, you have to keep my covenant, though. You and the seeds after you in their generation. Now, remember the first time, it was just a promise. It was a question, and he was like, you'll know by this. Now he's saying, okay, you obeyed me in that first thing, right? You split the animals, you got them, you collected them. We're in agreement now. We are in a covenant. Now, let me give you the terms of this covenant. You shall keep my covenant before you, you and your seed after you in their generations, which means that when the times change, the Torah doesn't. They have to do it in their time, whatever time that is. In their generations on the world, they have to keep the same covenant because it shows something about the covenant that it's everlasting. It works right now in this what we call antiquated time. And this covenant is also going to work wherever they are. It's that good. It is the choices. It's the best I got. It's not going to fail them. Because the point of the covenant, remember, is to restore them, to recover them, to keep them free from disease, to keep them fed, to make them the head as a representation of me and what I want to do really for the whole world. It's for them, right? He goes, all right, verse 10, this is my covenant, which you shall keep between me and you and your seed after me. After you, I'm sorry. So this part, if you've ever read the Bible and you were like, do we really have to keep Torah? This is it right here. Every generation. He didn't just say, until I give you what I give you, then you don't have to do what I say to do anymore. No. So he goes into it. He goes, this is the first part. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. He's like, you 99-year-old man, you too. And it shall be a token of the covenant between me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your generations. He that is born in your house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of your seed, meaning the establishment of the covenant meant that not only those who are blood-born, but those who join the family also have to be in the covenant. You don't get another covenant. So if he buys a servant, that servant cannot live in his house by their own rules or in covenant to somebody else. This completely shatters Christian doctrine. The covenant with Abraham shatters it. He says, even if you're born in another house and you become a part of this family, you are now in this covenant. The people could have had their own gods when he bought them. When they came into Abraham's house, Abraham's God is their God. The covenant that Abraham has with his God is the covenant that the people in his house have. You don't switch up the covenant. So how dare there be a doctrine preached that Messiah came and Messiah said, look, you don't have to follow the covenant of my father. I got a new house and this new house got new rules. It's completely out of line with the Bible. Let's continue on. He that is born in your house, he that is bought with your money. Why? Because your money is my money. The money you're going to have, I'm going to bless you with it. So I bought him. You have nothing of your own. We're in a covenant. Yours is mine, mine is yours. Must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man-child whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. He was, I'm going to keep it real simple. Real simple. And Yah said unto Abraham, as for your wife, so for everybody who acts like women are not a part of the covenant, this completely shatters that as well. She has a place a very, very important place, a very, very significant place. She was an afterthought, not in the beginning, not after the fall, and not when Abraham began to establish the nation. He said, as for your wife, Sarah, whoever else you got, I ain't talking about her. As for your wife, Sarah, Sarai in this text, because she hasn't had her name changed. Thou shalt not call her name Sarai. He said, but Sarah shall be called her name. Why? In my house, this is her name. So now by naming something in Hebraic culture, guess what it does? It puts a ownership over it. It establishes that it's a new thing. It gives it new character, a new purpose. So you may have come here. When I met you as Abram, you Abraham. When I met her, she was Sarai, she's Sarah. She'll never forget the moment where she shifted from being in one state to into another. And he says, and peep this, he says, and I'm a curse her, and she's going to be beat down by you, and you have to make sure she stay in check. Nope. He says, I will bless her. I'm going to do it. And give you a son also of her. I'm not going to leave her out of this. I will bless her. He says it again. And she shall become the mother of nations. Kings and people shall be of her. And then Abraham said, no, if you're going to bless her, I don't want it. No. Abraham fell upon his face and laughed. He said, oh, okay, wait, hold on. And as he laughed and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And wait, hold, you try to tell me that Sarah, 90 years old, she gonna have kids? Okay, look, I was rolling with you when you said I'd have like the stars of the sky. And then you told me a little thing you told me before, and I brought to you Eliezer, but now you playing with me. He's like, I must be losing my mind. And he says, and said in his heart, shall a child be born to a person this old, and shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, have a child? And Abraham said unto Yah, because remember, he understood, he's like, okay, I got it, but he had already had Ishmael. So he laughed at what Yah was going to do, because now it got absurd. He was like, okay, I see the young John, she can have a baby. That's cool. But now you're trying to tell me I'm going to have a baby with Sarah. We've been trying to have a baby since we got married. He's like, you asked me how was you going to know? Right? So coupled in the covenant, Yah understands that there is some unbelief in the process. Yah is here to show up for our unbelief. So Abraham said, look, Yah, I thought you was getting ready to say Ishmael. So how about this? Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. Look, I got one. I'm grateful. Let him be the one. And Yah said, I guess I was unclear. Sarah, your wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and you're going to call his name Isaac. Now, we don't get what Isaac means till later, but Isaac means laughter. He's like, and since you want to be funny, call him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant. So not only does he tell him he's going to have a child, he tells him the name of the child, he says, and the gender and everything else. And he says, that's who I'm establish my covenant with. And with his seed after him. He says, now, as for Ishmael, I've heard you. Behold, I will bless him, and I'll make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget. That's where the whole conflict between, well, I'll use this term, Arabs and Jews comes from. Ishmael has 12 princes. There was 12 tribes before Jacob even got on the scene. He blessed Ishmael with that. And I will make him a great nation. This is true. But my covenant, the covenant, will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah, since I got to say her name again, will bear unto you at this time. Check this out. He said, how about this? Here's one for you. This time next year. He got information, name, time frame, and he left off talking with him, and Yah went up from Abraham, which means that, goodness gracious, Yah came down to speak to Abraham. Talk about an obedience like that, where Yah just shows up on the scene. Okay, let's see what Abraham did. Last time Yah told Abraham to do something, he got them 3 animals and put them together and did the thing. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, look at Abraham, and all that were born in his house and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and he circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that day. How about that? That day. Not later. Not when he felt like it. Not when y'all had to come remind him and choke him out like it happened with Moses. That day. Now we're starting to see something about this covenant and this whole Abraham thing. It's a really necessary background. You're like, we haven't got to Jeremiah yet. I know. That day, as Yah had said unto him, and Abram was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old. This is where we get, when you guys ever ask me, like, how do you know how old Ishmael was from Isaac? The numbers matter. It's not flying over country. When he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, in the self same day was Abraham circumcised and Ishmael. And all the men of his house born in the house and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised with him. I got to go to 18 because I got to show you what happens next. Guess what happens when Abraham is obedient? Guess who pulls up on the scene? Yah. And Yah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre. I just had to stop there. I just had to show you that every time Abraham does something, the very next thing is an extension of this covenant. It's just what it is. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with this. We're not gonna leave, but I'm gonna leave you, and then we're gonna go back to Jeremiah finally. I'll leave you with this on covenants. Let's see what Yah said about covenant, and if Yah is a man that he should lie. Genesis, because now you guys can attest. Because if you've read it before, maybe you didn't catch it. Let's see what Yah says about Abraham. All right. So all the way in 26, again later. And there was a famine in the land. But what is a part of the covenant? Part of the covenant is to be fed. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed go begging bread. Why? Because they're in covenant. So we're going to get a test on the covenant. The definition of covenant, which means to be fed, restored, free from disease. And there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abram. So this is not the first famine he went through. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And Yah appeared unto him and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. It's a commandment. Sojourn in this land, and I will be there with thee. Why? Because of the covenant. And I will bless you, for unto you and unto your seed I will give all these countries. He's speaking the covenant that he spoke to his daddy. He says, I will, here it is, perform the oath which I swore unto Abram your father. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. He's speaking the same thing he spoke to his daddy to him. And I will give unto you the seed, thy seed, all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. He put a little, let me just let you know what you got in store for you, because somebody stored up something for you. He says, because that Abraham, he's like, I'm gonna speak your daddy's name by name, obeyed my voice, kept my charge, my commandment, my statutes, and my laws. He did what I said. He did it how I said it. He did it when I said it. And he did it for the reasons that I said it. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? That's something. All right. You're going to be like, it all makes sense now. Let's turn to Jeremiah chapter 11. And we'll probably make it just through the first part, because I know we're about an hour in. Keep this. I love, and I had this moment this morning. I was studying and I was like, this is my happy place. So welcome to my happy place. I'm totally fully in it right now. I'm sure it's all of you all's happy place too. It's not singular to me. I would not be that self-deceived. All right, let's go straight to the straight tube. Jeremiah chapter 11. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yah saying, hear ye the words of this covenant, and speak unto the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say unto them, thus saith the Elohim of Israel, cursed be the man that obeyeth not the words of this covenant, which I commanded your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt from the iron furnace, saying, obey my voice and do them according to all which I command you. So shall you be my people, and I your Elohim. Colon, why? That colon always tells why. It tells something after. That I may, check this word out here, because you saw it already, perform the oath which I swore unto your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. And you know what Jeremiah said? Jeremiah said, so be it, oh yeah. Jeremiah's like how my heart disposition is. I can't say that my actions are always in alignment. I'm getting there. But oh, my heart is, if that's what you say you're going to do, that's easy. Listen to you and you going to do everything for me. I got it. Literally, Yah speaks in this part, and we're actually going to probably just stop right in here. He speaks in this part and he says to him, along with the covenant that we just read, he literally says, obey my voice and do what I command you, and I will be your power. I will be your power. That's the blessing. I have woken up on many mornings and I didn't have it in me. I've been in many moments where I didn't have it in me. I didn't have the strength. I don't have the power. I don't have the ability to. But I'm learning more and more every day as I walk with Yah that part of the covenant is I don't have to have it. How about that? I don't have to have it. All I have to do is state that I don't have it, and then I have it. And so literally what Jeremiah got, I think is what I got. I was like, wait. So my obedience allows Yah to give me the very essence that he is when I don't have. Somebody tell me where to sign up for that. Like, if that was how it would have been explained to me, yes, that's what I want. I want that. Why? Because there's going to be days where life's. There's going to be times where things are beyond my control. There's going to be moments where, like Abraham, I get myself in trouble because I try to manage things in my own mind, in my own way. But because of my covenant relationship, I can literally call on the creator of heaven and earth. And in his reserve is something stored up for me because of obedience. Yeah, I'm gonna need that. And I'm not going to play around with that, because you know what? All of the obediences mattered. Yah didn't take off some of Abraham's obediences because he didn't understand obedience. He stored up the obediences to give him back to him when he didn't have. So I'm realizing something, and I'm sure Jeremiah did too. He was like, ooh, so I've been running on reserve. I might need to get it together so I can keep depositing in, so that when I am in a deficit, Yah can take what I've deposited and put it back. And if you think I'm playing, you think I made it up, ask Hezekiah. Ask Hezekiah if he didn't call on his reserve. He was like, look, I've done some things. I know it's something. I know it's something in there. I know I'm not just running on fumes. Can I just get a little bit out of what I've deposited in my little raggedy obedience? I'm not saying it's been much. But can I just get a little bit of it? And that little bit is always so much more. So much more. Yah when he says, I'm going to take your little bit and give you a lot, he's like, dude, you got extra years? He didn't say you have 5 days. He was like, here's some years. He got so many years and he turned around and had a whole baby. Yah is like, I need you to understand that you activate, I'm going to use this word, I'm going to explain this word. You activate my performance of my oath with your obedience. Literally, There are promises stored up. This part had me, this morning, I thought about to dance a dance. Literally, there are promises stored up from Abraham that people haven't gotten their hands on. And Yah was like, well, you want them? Jeremiah was like, so be it, oh Yah. He was like, this is easy. This is easy for me right now. Are you trying to, because remember, he's growing up where he's not seeing the fullness of it either. He was like, wait, you trying to tell me? And his little 20-something-year-old mind, he's like, wait, hold up. If I'm hearing you correctly, because me and him and Yah hearing the same direct, precise language, he said, wait. So there's an account somewhere called the obedience to the covenant account. And that account is so powerful that it's literally holding up reserves from Abraham. He was like, wait, so it's money in there? Like there's still more left even after all you said from 1 to 10 about this nation? He's like, look, well, if they don't want it, I do. If they don't want it, I'll take it. Yah is literally telling him, he's like, I'm performing at this point, all that Israel is seeing and not being destroyed. So peep this, I'm performing based upon somebody else's deposits into the account. He's like, literally, it's literally, I mean, Abraham was so good that 1,000 years, 2,000 years, y'all still riding on Abraham's deposits. That's how much our obedience is worth, and that's why the adversary attacks that. He's like, oh, I cannot put the deposit into there. They kids and they kids gonna be blessed. I can't do that. So guess what? I got to keep you disobedient. I'll let you ride on Abraham's stuff, but I can't let you get in your own, because guess what that does? That pushes the blessing forward. The adversaries, I know how this blessing thing works. I know how the performance of the oath thing works. He's like, no. No, I got to do something about that. So guess what? The very first sin, I'll tell you how it's an exchange, and that's why there's blessing attached to it. The very first sin, when it says that Eve was beguiled, it meant that her truth account was debited. She had a full account. And when she obeyed the word of the adversary over Yah, it started running negative on the account. So then Yah was like, I got to put something in there. I got to give you guys Torah so that you can deposit into this account that's always running negative because of sin. But this is what I'm going to do with the compounds and the interest and everything. See, when you put money in, I'm going to make it gain more money than the deposits of sin in the account. So that every sin you think is empty in the account, I'm just like, it's just taking a little bit off of the little at the bottom. And it's really a full account over here. I'm doing something completely different, but you're so afraid, and you got people convincing you not to deposit into the obedience account, but then you're going to keep depositing into the sin account. So much so, how about this? We did it so wrong. Our ancestors did it so wrong. So much so that the account actually looked like it got a little low. Yeah, I was like, look, I got to do something. I got to show up on the scene now. I'm going to have to use my blood because you are so jacked up. You want deposit into the obedience account. So this account don't go to zero. I'm going to have to do something about it. But guess what? Sin is still here. You can't deplete the account, but now he's saying, I can't perform my oath unless you still keep depositing into this account. I've now filled up the account so much with my own performance of salvation. All I'm asking you to do is just tap into it. The account's full. I really don't even need you to, you don't have to put anything into it, but to get money out, your debit card got to have obedience on it. You're not getting anything out of this bank without that. So he's like, look, the account, I filled it up. It's all the way full. It'll never run dry. But you can't dip into it. How many of us have said, and how many of us have said this? We said, I wish I had somewhere like a rich uncle. We be going to the mailbox, hoping it's a check in the bank. In the mailbox. We look through our mail like one day. We all do it. I don't know if it's just a Hebrew thing, but we do it. And we're hoping that his lawyer calls and says, excuse me, but you had an old uncle or a grandfather that you never met and they passed away, and you're the next person in line to receive the inheritance. You have a chateau out here in France, or I don't know, whatever your wildest dream is. Yah says, look, I'm him. I'm him. I'm him. I'm the one you're waiting for. Literally, I got more than anyone. And I don't just have money, I have covenant funds. Covenant funds cover disease. Covenant funds cover your livestock. Covenant funds cover your house. Covenant funds cover your mind. Covenant funds cover your body. Covenant funds cover your children for generations to come. He's like, I'm waiting. But see, the issue here is that you don't want to go into covenant with me. Because all you see is a negative that you reap because you haven't been in covenant. See, he's like, your family account been dry, and I've been trying to get you on the line to let you know that you got a negative balance, but I can transfer funds if you just sign this contract. But you got people in your ear saying, oh, no, don't go into contract. Don't go into covenant with God. You see how bad he was to Abraham? See how bad he was to David? That's like, really, you're gaslighting me against the person who holds every single thing I need. Jeremiah was like, look, I saw it clearly. He said, that's easy money, pun intended. See, it was a no-brainer for Jeremiah. So I'll leave you with this. Is the covenant also a no-brainer for you? After you hear of what goes into a covenant and what you get out of the covenant, what would make you not want to be in covenant? The word covenant here is, when he talks about that he's going to perform the oath and respond, it is in what's called the nephal. If you've been in Hebrew class, you'll know. And it's a reciprocal mutual action. This lie that covenant does not require you to actually ask for what's in the covenant is ridiculous. All throughout the scripture, it says to ask for. And when you ask for, guess what? You're saying, I am in contract to the one I'm asking from. Mom used to say something back in the day. She's like, if you ask me for my money, you put me in your business. Yah is the same way. He's like, I got it. I more than have it, but I need to understand why first. And then I'm going to tell you how to do right, so you don't come back asking for it like this again. Because see, I don't want to have to give you just to cover the disobedience. I want to give you out of the overflowing obedience fund. I want to give you out of the covenant fund. Yah is like, yo, you eyes have not seen, nor ears have heard the goodness that Yah has in store. Yah is like, I want to pour out on you my blessing. That's Deuteronomy 28. The other half of the Deuteronomy verse, the curse part, is when you don't listen, I'm going to give you out of the famine, disease account. You want out of that account? You want to keep getting out of that account? I'm like, I don't want nothing else out of that account. I am familiar with the overdraft fee account. I want out of the covenant fund. That's where I want my money from. So where the money, where the blessing, where the health, where the fullness, where the storehouse comes from, is from a reciprocal mutual action that we perform one to another. It's simple. Yah says, give me a ram of 3 years old. Go get the ram of 3 years old. Simple. He didn't say how I'm gonna get the ram. I'm going around and I'm gonna find a ram that's 3 years old. Because if you said to go get it, you've already provided for it. If you told me to be obedient, you've already given me the power for it, because part of the covenant is the power to do exactly what you've asked me to do. You've already covered it. You're just telling me to literally do it. The power to do it is the first thing that comes in the covenant. A lot of people believe that the very first covenant with Abraham, when he split the animals in half was Abraham's body being resurrected. That's what Paul says in Hebrews. He said that being dead in his body, he couldn't have children. It wasn't just on Sarah, he was too. He couldn't bear seed. Yah reactivated that 90-something-year-old man's body so that he could bear seed. And then he went off and had a baby by Hagar, but that's a whole nother conversation. But Yah didn't stop what he was doing because he didn't quite fully understand what he had done. He's like, no. I did that. He resurrected him. When he fell into that deep sleep, when he came back up, Abraham's body was whole. And so just like that, he gave the power to fulfill the covenant. Abraham didn't have it in him to fulfill the promise that Yah gave him. Yah was like, I'm not asking you to do it. I'm not asking you to carry the weight of the covenant. I'm asking you to go in covenant with me so I can be your power. And then every time I ask you to do something, I'm going to be that power. Now, do you see David differently? And the spirit of Yah came upon him and he was able to, and the spirit of Yah came upon them and they were able to, and the spirit was poured out at Shavuot and they were able to. In covenant, there's access to the power. That is it. He's like, can you just let me do what I'm doing? Can you just do it and know that I'm doing what I'm doing? I realized that I've been playing a real simpleton game at this point. Like I didn't realize that it was just that easy. He was like, if I tell you to do it, I've given you the power to do it. If I've told you to do it, I'm giving you the resource to do it. I'm not asking you to fund my covenant. I'm asking you to be a vehicle of expression of the existence of my covenant so that other people know to say, hey, wait. I know you, and you don't do that. You do other things. How you get that? How'd you get that? Now, I'm not being a hater. It's no shade. I just want that too. And you go, oh, well, see, there was this contract and, his name is Yah, and he showed up and he was like, I got power and I'll give it to you. And then you can just, have, you're like, wait, what? So be it. Oh, Yah. And Yah, what we've learned from Yah from 1 to 10, is that he wasn't even so much concerned with the mess ups. He was concerned that they stayed that way. He was like, I saw it all, but I'm still standing here saying, but remember you remember the covenant? And they're like, well, we over here and we doing this thing with Baal and Ashtaroth now. And we real down bad, but we don't want the covenant. He's like, this makes no sense. Can you see the heartbreak and the frustration when he's like, but I got covenant. I got power. I got power over your enemies. I got power over the people coming to try to steal your land. I have power over your mind. I have power over your body. I have power over your spouse. I have power over your children. I have power over the universe. I have power over the wind. I have power over everything. And you gonna try to operate in your power? He said, no. So it becomes this, which is so funny. What we paint as a bad God, right, comes down to this. It's covenant or nothing then. It's you get everything or you get nothing. That's the punishment. The punishment is you either gonna go into covenant and let me be your power and let me bless you, or then just go. And they go, okay, we'll go with the nothing then. See how silly that seems? Put into very, very plain terms. Can you see the frustration of Yah and the heartbreak of Yah? He's like, I'm literally saying, like, I'm not saying I'm going to punish you for what you've done before. I'm literally saying, let's get back in covenant. And the people said, no, we're good. Then you're dead already. So killing the body is nothing because the conscience, the mind, the heart, the soul, any spark of connection to the covenant is gone. Now you're just making a mess for everybody else. He's like, I refuse to let you to continue living because now you're going to disrupt the covenant for the future generations. That's how serious Yah is about his covenant. He's like, you're going to set up the next generation to have nothing. They're going to have false religion, false idols, false gods. they won't even be able to hear me if I keep letting you live. You see why Yah will get rid of his own? So the question is, do you choose the covenant? Next week, we're going to pick back up. And we're going to go through the rest of this. We'll hit on some more of the covenant, but we're going to get into what it means to break the covenant, the heaviness of it. And then Yah's going to get to a point where he's like, look, don't ask me if they want the covenant no more. Don't even talk to me about them anymore. Now that you've seen the covenant, it's going to help you to better understand how Yah arrives at such a place of like, you know what? Don't come crying to me. You know why? Because the covenant's still on the table. I don't want to talk about anything else. There's nothing to talk about. Either I am it or I'm not. So that's what we're going to cover next week. You guys, I hope at this point, you're like, if I never, ever, if I was unsure of whether I was just doing it for the sake of doing it, now I know what I'm doing it for. All righty.